We just watched Alex Eala get through her first round match, her first win at Wimbledon, taking out Zarazúa in straight sets. She awaits the winner of Serena and Joint. They're coming on a little bit later, but let's go have a look at how this match went. So there you go, as you can see, 6-1, 6-2, hour and 21 minutes. There were some long games in that one. It wasn't super straightforward for Eala, but she was in the lead for pretty much the entire match. 20 winners, 14 errors for Eala, 11 winners and 13 errors from Zarazúa. Yeah, so it wasn't the greatest, I guess, opponent for Eala, considering that she's going to take on somebody who's going to hit the ball a little bit bigger in the second round if it's Serena or even Pliskova in the...
2 years can completely change a tennis player, but nobody expected them to change the entire atmosphere at Wimbledon. Alex Eala walked onto the biggest court of her career carrying one painful memory, and walked off with the kind of performance that left fans, commentators, and even her opponents stunned. What was supposed to be an ordinary first-round match quickly turned into absolute chaos, and by the final point, everyone realized they had just witnessed something far bigger than a simple Wimbledon debut.
What results, what players stuck out most to you heading into Wimbledon?
For me, on the women's side, it was, I think, Eala's 3 kind of big name winning streak that she had. You know, she beat Donovic and she was like, oh, that's a good win. And then beating Rybakina, Svitolina, like in a row. I was very surprised. And just to see the intensity, we know that she's a good mover, which on grass, if you can bring, you know, a couple of shots back, you're able to make your opponent just make the mistakes a little bit quicker.
Some victories arrive with a trophy, while others arrive carrying 2 years of unfinished conversations. This one somehow managed to carry both. Long before the applause echoed across center court, and before thousands of fans rose to celebrate a new chapter in tennis history, this story had quietly begun on a forgotten court where almost nobody was watching.
Alex Eala, that could be, is that the biggest match in tennis right now? I think probably it is.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm looking at her last single matches. So it was at the US Open 2022, lost to Tomjanovic.
Yeah.
Just before that, played Cincinnati, lost in the opening round, getting bageled by Raducanu.
Remember it well.
Yeah, and let's be fair, I feel like it's going to be a case of she's going to go out there, probably get bageled, breadsticked. Is she going to be able to win a set?
That is the strange thing about sports. The moments that eventually change everything often begin where almost nobody bothers to look. Alex Eala walked into Wimbledon carrying the kind of momentum that statisticians love, journalists cannot stop discussing, and opponents secretly wish would disappear overnight.
That, Tom, after last night's singles loss, she'll have another go tonight at getting through to the second round in the doubles. Now, Alex Eala, she's really been the talk of Melbourne Park today. She's just 20 years old, ranked 49 in the world. But the reason why there is just so much interest is because she's the highest ranking Filipino in history. And if yesterday's crowds were anything to go by, we can expect it's going to be another chock-a-block night here at Melbourne Park tonight. We saw she was given a special security escort to Court 6 last night.
Every tournament during the grass season seemed to add another chapter to her remarkable rise. Every victory made the whispers louder. Every comeback convinced another group of skeptics that something extraordinary was happening.
I've been saying since the Miami tournament, Eala has one of the best, if not the best, second serve returns on the WTA Tour. And she can hit any type of return from both sides. So if you as a righty serve to the Eala backhand on the deuce side, she can go Jimmy Connors style down the line or cross court. She can do the same on the ad side. She can go inside out, and her favorite return on the backhand.
By the time the Wimbledon draw arrived, she was no longer viewed as an exciting young prospect. She had become the player capable of ruining everybody else's championship dreams. Then, fate decided to display its peculiar sense of humor. Among hundreds of possible first-round opponents, the draw delivered the one player connected to the single defeat that had lingered in Alex's memory longer than almost any other. 2 years earlier, on a scorching afternoon in North Carolina, a little-known ITF tournament had produced a result that barely registered across the tennis world. Newspapers ignored it, television crews never mentioned it, ranking tables absorbed it without ceremony. Yet inside Alex's mind, that loss never disappeared. Back then, she had looked every bit the future star. Her timing was beautiful, her left-handed strokes flowed effortlessly, and her fearless shot-making suggested that bigger stages were waiting. She captured the opening set with authority and seemed completely in control. Sometimes talent loses to resilience, and those defeats remain painful because they expose weaknesses nobody else notices. Many athletes prefer forgetting losses that happen far away from television cameras. Alex apparently chose the opposite approach. Instead of hiding from that afternoon, she reportedly dissected every rally, every missed opportunity, and every decision that slowly shifted the match. She studied her own hesitation with the determination of a scientist examining an unsolved mystery. Somewhere during that process, the disappointment stopped feeling like failure and started becoming a blueprint.
A great, nice warm-up for the second round. So the first set, Eala got off to a good start. She held serve pretty easily. Zarazúa did the same, but then Eala got the break. Then there was a couple of marathon games towards the end of the first set. Eala had to save a break point. She did save it. Then she had a chance to get the double break. She ends up getting the double break. And then another break point saved as she was serving for the set. So the first half of the set, it was pretty straightforward. But then that, 3-1 onwards, it was a 6-1 set, but it was a very, very competitive second half of the set. And then Eala gets off to a great start in the second. She breaks straight away, and
the version of Alex that emerged over the next 2 seasons looked noticeably different. The elegance remained, but it was now supported by something even more valuable. She developed the stubborn belief that difficult moments were invitations instead of warnings. Pressure gradually became part of her identity rather than an obstacle standing in its way. The transformation happened quietly enough that casual fans barely noticed until the grass season suddenly placed her under the brightest spotlight in tennis. Meanwhile, her former conqueror followed an entirely different path. She remained a dangerous competitor, capable of producing brilliant performances without warning. Yet consistency never truly arrived. Every promising victory seemed followed by frustrating setbacks. Breakpoint opportunities appeared regularly, but converting them became increasingly difficult. Grass courts, with their unpredictable bounces and relentless demand for instinctive movement, never became comfortable territory. Wimbledon was preparing to introduce the most dangerous version of Alex Eala anyone had ever seen. Rankings alone already suggested a difficult afternoon. Alex entered the championships comfortably inside the world's top 30, while her opponent sat well outside that range.
Alex Eala begins another chapter in Philippine tennis history tonight as the Filipino star opens her 2026 Wimbledon campaign against a familiar opponent, Mexico's Renata Zarazúa. Now, this is more than just a first-round match. It's a rematch nearly 2 years in the making. Back in 2024, Zarazúa rallied from a set-down to defeat Eala in the quarterfinals of the W100 Carry Tennis.
The gap reflected months of remarkable progress rather than temporary fortune. Yet tennis players understand something computers cannot calculate. Numbers measure present ability, but memories continue influencing decisions long after rankings have changed. Somewhere inside both competitors remained vivid recollections of North Carolina, although each woman carried them differently. One remembered proving she could win. The other remembered exactly why she refused to become that player again. As tournament week unfolded, excitement surrounding Alex expanded beyond ordinary sporting interest. Ticket requests surged. Television executives quietly celebrated. Social media transformed every practice session into breaking news. Schools found creative excuses to mention Wimbledon during morning assemblies. It began resembling less of a sporting event and more of a nationwide celebration waiting for permission to begin. Every roar from the crowd seemed to sharpen her concentration instead of distracting it. Every expression of national pride added another layer of confidence rather than additional pressure. Watching her compete became strangely entertaining because she played with the joyful freedom of someone participating in neighborhood tennis, while simultaneously performing before one of the largest audiences in world sport.
Of course, in the Philippines, you and Serena have so many fans over the years, and now again, the whole country is super excited to see you have played with Alex last week. Can you just share with us a bit more about how it was to play with her, and what are your thoughts about and how did it come together?
She's great. Her parents are great. I got to meet them too, and overall, they seem to be very nice humans, which helps you to be a better tennis player, I think, usually. She's very competitive on the court. I think we were a great team. I think we just need a little.
Analysts spent hours attempting to explain why her game suddenly looked so perfectly designed for grass. The answer turned out to be wonderfully simple. Left-handed players already create unusual tactical problems, but on grass, those advantages become even more pronounced. Her slice serve curved away at awkward angles, forcing opponents to chase returns that never seemed to travel where conventional experience suggested they should. Once they drifted out of position, Alex attacked with astonishing speed, striking early and redirecting the ball before defensive instincts could recover. Former champions recognized the danger immediately. Experienced commentators who had spent decades analyzing elite tennis began describing her as the player nobody wanted appearing in their section of the draw. Praise inside professional sports is often delivered cautiously because athletes understand how quickly fortunes change. This admiration sounded different. It carried genuine respect mixed with subtle concern, almost as though established veterans had collectively realized that the tournament's biggest threat might not be the highest-ranked player after all. Nothing illustrated that transformation better than her fictional Birmingham triumph earlier that season. Facing almost certain defeat in the deciding set, she somehow reversed momentum through unwavering belief instead of desperation.
And similarly on the forehand side, her favorite return is the one on the deuce side, where the player serves slice towards the tee or towards the middle of the box, and Eala hits her forehand inside in into the backhand corner of the righty. She can hit that return with her eyes closed and makes it a lot and also rips it quite fast. She hits her return like I teach it. She abbreviates her preparation and then has a full finish where she gains similar control of the ball like she would on a regular ground stroke. She also has a spectacular forehand return from the ad side as well.
Every game gradually shifted emotional control until the impossible became inevitable. The comeback immediately entered tennis folklore inside this alternate history because it represented something much larger than another trophy. It demonstrated that Alex had stopped measuring herself against the scoreboard. She measured herself against her own willingness to continue competing regardless of circumstances. That mental evolution made the Wimbledon opener fascinating. The woman standing across the net no longer resembled the teenager from North Carolina. Experience had polished the rough edges without removing the fearless imagination that first attracted attention. Every practice session, every heartbreaking defeat, every exhausting comeback, and every impossible expectation had quietly combined into a competitor prepared for the grandest stage. Others anticipated an upset. Many simply wanted to discover whether the remarkable stories surrounding Alex were exaggerated by excitement or supported by genuine greatness. They would leave with an answer nobody expected to arrive quite so emphatically.
Handing the young Filipina one of her toughest losses that season. But since then, both players have grown. Zarazúa is now 28 years old, ranked world number 75 after climbing as high as number 51 last year. She owns 3 WTA 125 titles, has Grand Slam experience, and reached the second round of Wimbledon last year after a dominant opening round victory. She also battled through qualifying in Bad Homburg before falling to Wang Xinyu. Now, ironically, Eala and Zarazúa also became doubles partners at the French Open.
When the players finally stepped onto the immaculate grass, the emotional tension that had surrounded the matchup for days disappeared almost instantly, because Alex answered every lingering question with her racket. The opening exchanges revealed the competitor who looked completely at home on Wimbledon's grandest stage, as though she had spent years preparing for this exact afternoon. There was no visible hesitation, no sign that memories from North Carolina had followed her through the tunnel, and certainly no indication that she intended to allow history to repeat itself. Every movement carried confidence, every decision came without doubt, and every point reinforced the feeling that the occasion belonged entirely to her. The returns that came back often landed short, inviting Alex to step forward and dictate play with remarkable authority. Rather than settling for safe exchanges from the baseline, she repeatedly took the ball early, robbing her opponent of precious reaction time and transforming ordinary rallies into relentless attacks.
What if I told you that the biggest cheer in New York that day was not for a title, but for a 20-year-old girl rewriting history? Welcome to Gen Z Player Spotlight, where I have taken it as my job to let the world know of the amazing things that these young tennis players are doing. It's the summer of New York, in the third set of your first round match at the US Open. Across the net, your opponent is chasing her 13th second round appearance, and she's up 5-1. If you're watching this game, I bet you are thinking, you know what, she's put up a good fight, but maybe it's just not going to happen this time. Tennis, being the beautiful sport that it is, something shifts.
Watching the pattern develop felt almost unfair, because every successful serve opened another opportunity to showcase her improved aggression. Her opponent attempted to recreate the resilience that had produced victory 2 years earlier, but this version of Alex simply refused to provide the same openings. Whenever a long rally threatened to shift momentum, Alex responded with intelligent shot selection instead of impatience. Whenever pressure arrived on her own serve, she answered with fearless placement rather than conservative tennis. The emotional swings that had once disrupted her composure never appeared. It was as though the difficult lessons learned in North Carolina had quietly rewritten every instinct she relied upon under pressure. Every perfectly disguised drop shot drew appreciative laughter from the crowd, while every sharply angled winner produced another wave of applause that echoed around the stadium. Even longtime Wimbledon regulars exchanged knowing smiles, recognizing that they were witnessing the arrival of a player capable of becoming one of the tournament's biggest attractions. The scoreboard reflected that dominance with remarkable honesty.
I'm not exaggerating when I say this is one of the most incredible things that I have witnessed in tennis. We have never seen someone ranked this low, 140, with only 2 tour-level wins to their name, come out and play like this and have such a run. Emma Raducanu is the closest thing that comes to mind in her US Open run, but even before the US Open, she did show promising signs with Wimbledon and making the 4th round. Eala didn't do that. Again, she only had 2 tour-level wins to her name. And even more so was the impact that I've already witnessed and her bringing more Filipino interest.
Alex captured the first set through disciplined serving, aggressive returning, and an extraordinary ability to transition seamlessly from defense into attack. More importantly, she never allowed the emotional significance of the occasion to interfere with the quality of her decisions. 2 years earlier, losing momentum had created uncertainty. This time, gaining momentum only inspired her to raise the standard even higher. The second set quickly evolved into a masterclass in modern grass court tennis. Alex covered the court with effortless balance, gliding into position before striking winners that seemed to arrive from impossible angles. Her forehand repeatedly forced defensive slices, while her backhand stayed low enough to keep rallies firmly under her control. That calmness spread throughout every aspect of her game, allowing her to maintain an astonishingly high level from the opening point until the closing stages of the match. As the finish line approached, the crowd sensed they were witnessing more than a routine first-round victory. They were watching a young player close the final chapter of an old disappointment while simultaneously opening an entirely new chapter in her career. Every cheer grew louder, every point carried greater significance, and when Alex finally delivered one last unreturnable serve to seal the match, center court erupted in appreciation.
Game by game, she somehow claws her way back. Energy of the whole court changes. People passing by see the scoreboard and stop, and suddenly we've got a full house. With nothing but grit, composure, courage, fearlessness, this 20-year-old forces the game into a tiebreak. Match points come and go, and on the 5th, the ball drops just past the baseline. And the game is done. History has been rewritten. I bring to you Alex Eala, the first Filipino ever to win a main draw match at a Grand Slam. At 20 years old, she's not just a huge source of Pinoy pride, she's just an inspiration for girls.
She paused for only a moment before looking toward her team, her smile revealing relief as much as joy. The opponent, who had once represented an unfinished piece of her journey, had now become proof of just how dramatically she had evolved. The result was never simply about advancing to the second round. It represented the completion of a transformation that had taken years of relentless work, countless hours of reflection, and an unwavering determination to become stronger than the version of herself that once walked away heartbroken from a forgotten tournament in North Carolina. As Alex acknowledged every corner of the stadium, the standing ovation continued long after the final handshake. Commentators immediately described it as one of the most convincing opening round performances of the championships, while headlines around the world celebrated her fictional Wimbledon debut as the moment a rising star officially announced herself among the sport's elite. Fans who had filled the stands hoping for drama instead witnessed something equally memorable: complete authority from the first ball to the last. The revenge story had finally reached its ending, and it ended with Alex Eala delivering a dominant victory that left absolutely no doubt that her Wimbledon journey had truly begun.